Welcome to Global Risk Community Chat. Today, our guest is Tobias Bauer. I'm very happy to have you here today, Toby. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's also a pleasure to be here. Thanks
Yes,
for having me.
likewise. Thank you so much, too. So can you briefly introduce yourself before we get into the topic?
Absolutely, more than happy to. I'm originally from Germany, and been sort of all around the world in the last couple of years. I live in Singapore, but I'm currently calling out of Cambodia, out of Phnom Penh, for anyone who is sort of familiar with the area here. But yeah, I come from traditional background, investment banking space. Since then, pivoted into working for startups and ultimately transitioning the venture capital space. We worked for a bigger US fund before, and currently we've been developing and building Blockchain Founders Fund over the last years. And we just closed a $75 million fund recently, where we're going to back 200 companies over the next 4 years in the blockchain space. Yeah, more like crypto native as well, but like we're not a pure sort of crypto fund. It's more like you want to back awesome companies to solve real life problems using blockchain. And yeah, that's been what's happening. We've already done 20 deals on the new fund over the last couple of weeks, and excited to meet more founders moving forward.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting, and a lot of things seem to be a horizon. So yeah, then I would say thank you for that brief introduction. Let's jump into the topic. What would you like to share with us today or discuss with us today?
I mean, there's a couple of different things I'd love to discuss. I think the main two things is sort of how do we mitigate risk as a fund. I think could be quite interesting, because obviously when you do early stage investing, there's it's a more risky business in a sense, but also in a second, I think is about the community aspect of it. I think that's really important moving forward, both for companies but also for funds. Since like you cannot solve all the challenges just by yourself moving forward. It's just getting too complex and just too widespread. So these are a couple of things I find interesting to point across.
Yeah, so both sound really interesting. Let's start with the first one, with the risk mitigation first. So what would be some kind of like key things when it comes to this aspect?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for us, it's most important to obviously have proper controls in place, right? So if you're a fund, you deal with capital from other people. You typically have a limited partner structure that's trusted parties who want to get exposure, and they allocate certain capital to your operations. So for us, it's very important to source proper deals who are very legit and have strong founders, right? So we have several places and sort of several ways in progress for that. Basically, the way we source deals as a fund is 3 different ways, so like mainly 3 different ways. The first one, and that ties sort of in the second question I'm going to touch on a second, is the whole community aspect, right? So over the years, we've built a network of 145 corporate partners. We have now 300 experts and about several very strong limited partners who are all very incentivized and aligned with our vision. They refer very strong deals to us across the whole blockchain space, early stage, sometimes later stage, and then it's up to us to make a very defined decision. And a second point is about internal controls from a fund perspective, right? So we do have a part of a legal team, we have a part of investment team, and of course a very operational team. So for every company we're investing in, we need to make sure that legal structure is sound and safe, right? So we need to understand, have we checked all the legal documents? Have we put every controls in place to properly evaluate which entity we're actually investing in, right? Because believe it or not, there's a lot of interesting structures out there where it's not fully clear how the whole company has been structured from a legal perspective. So it's very important to have strong legal advisors, but also strong internal team members who have a very good background in that space to make sure that everything is double checked, cross-marked, and just been evaluated carefully. And I think another point is really working closely with the founders. Right, to mitigate risk, it's very important for us to build relationships with founders, to fully understand what they're working on, to follow up with them on a daily or weekly basis, to be sort of involved in any part of the business, to understand how contracts are progressing, how is the company overall developing, are they hitting milestones and targets, and can we build a coachable relationship with the founders, right? Because if that relationship is not coachable, if it's a very egocentric relationship, is extremely hard to collaborate moving forward, right? And especially early stage where there's sometimes no revenue, no product. I think it is key to work with your investors and choose investors who can add a lot of strategic value, and not just work on your own and sort of save or sort of waste a lot of money and time, where you could sort of increase the speed by just selecting your partners more carefully.
Yeah.
That's kind of like my take to mitigating risk as a fund.
Yeah, that actually sounds interesting, because from one end I hear, of course, a lot of like risk management, with also, of course, bringing in regulatory and the compliance aspect of it. And the other side, I hear a lot of communication, which I think also ties with the community part that you wanted to talk about. So can I hear maybe some parts on that as well, some key things on the community end too?
Yeah, especially now with also the pandemic, where we see a lot more companies with a very decentralized team, right? I mean, it's not just Silicon Valley anymore. It's not just Singapore anymore. It's not just Hong Kong anymore, where we have very centric teams all in one office, all in one co-working space. Right now, most of the teams we're currently talking to are the founders in Vietnam, the other founders calling out of the US, and everybody's kind of working remote. Most of the team members, they've never seen each other in person, or not fully at least. And that also comes with that obviously making it a lot harder to focus on a region and to source successful deals. And you cannot have your eyes everywhere as a fund, right? I mean, the fund typically has just a very, very limited number of people, employees, and general partners. So it gets a lot more difficult, in my opinion, to be working on your own and rely on just a couple of relationships. And that's where I think the community comes into place, right? Right now, when you're able to connect with basically everyone in the world by just dropping a Calendly link and a Zoom link, you think you have to make use of this, right? Both as a founder to connect with as many people as possible, obviously relevant, and the same thing as a fund, right? You want to tie in with other VCs to get a better network. You want to tie in with founder networks. You want to talk to corporates, innovation managers, and things like this, to really have your eyes everywhere and being able to tap into deal flow where you haven't had the possibility to happen before. And that tremendously helped us, not just from a deal flow perspective, but also from really like a support perspective, right? Because now it's not just limited, oh, we can connect you to that person in Silicon Valley. It's like, oh, you want to tap into the Mexican market, oh, we have an awesome person you should speak to, right? And that's, I think, really developed and increased tremendously over the last 2 years, where people are also just getting more comfortable with using technology as a main communication tool, right? And like the actual in-person meeting is still important, of course. Like nothing can ever change that, I guess, but it is people are way more comfortable of making deals, signing partnerships, collaborating, becoming friends from a more distributed and like more online perspective. So that has been key for our sourcing perspective. That's been key for our support perspective. And I think most of the funds which are currently doing well, following a similar model of just more collaborative and it's more inclusive than we have been operating before.
Yeah, that is actually a very good remark as well. I have one follow-up question, like to just kind of combine both. If you could perhaps explain in like 1 or 2 sentences, what would be a takeaway point that like involves both aspects, like the risk management or mitigation aspect and the community aspect, in like 1 sentence or 2?
Yeah, I think like a regulated community, right? I think is a good keyword. Like it's not about connecting with everyone in the world and connecting with everything possible. It's about figuring out what is valuable for you, right? Because in the end, that's all time you're spending or wasting, depending on how you see it. And that's why I think regulation is always going to be important, right? You need to figure out, okay, what is important for me as a company? What is important for me as a fund? What is important for me as a startup? And then make a proper list of who you should connect within your industry to make best use of your, but also, of course, their time, right? It's not a one-way street. And I think that ties again with the regulatory perspective, because even as a company, you should also be, still obviously collaborative, but you should be regulatory collaborative, right? You want to make sure that you are internally have proper controls in place, that once you communicate and share information with the outside world, that you're not being a super transparent piece of glass, that you're able to regulate that in a sense that the information which is supposed to go to person A just reaches person A, right? So the bigger the network, the more complicated it gets, obviously. And I think also the more controls need to be in place, that nothing gets leaked, that you still be able to operate on a very, sort of organized perspective. But at the same time, I think it's key to open up some resources in order to collaborate further, and keeping some resources close-ended and tied down, to make sure that your competitive edge, or your secret sauce in a sense, gets protected, right? So these regulatory or sort of a regulated community in a sense is, I think, my key message from this today's conversation.
That sounds like a very important message as well. And obviously, we are also in a risk community. And I think this also applies to our community or other communities our audiences might be part of. So yeah, that kind of concludes our time for today. So I want to thank you once again for joining us today, sharing your insights, your expertise and thoughts in general. And yeah, it was lovely to meet you.
Thank you so much. The pleasure was all mine. If there's any follow-up questions, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn or email. Please feel free to share my details if anyone is interested. And thanks for having me, and always happy to do it again. It's a pleasure connecting.
Likewise. Thank you and take care.
Thank you so much.